Welcome to Advanced and Performance Driving, or in this case riding. I'm Reg Local. I thought it was time I gave you a little update on motorcycling, how the motorcycling was going. It's about 6 months now since I passed my bike test. And I'll just do a short video to a quick update on how the motorcycling was going, how the bike's going, whether I'm enjoying it or not, whether I'm learning anything. So I've stuck some cameras on and I thought I'd share my commute with you this morning, because for me this is where the motorcycling has made the biggest difference to my travelling, my commute to work. So my commute takes me about a third of the way around the east side of the M60. Anybody that's using the M60 regularly will know it's in a horrendous state at the moment. There's loads of roadworks and congestion is just a daily occurrence. So actually riding the bike, being able to filter, being able to keep moving, even if it's only slowly, has just massively improved the commute. What used to take me 45 to 50 minutes on a good day in the car now takes me about half an hour, and that's pretty much irrespective of traffic conditions. Now admittedly there's some additional faff at either end with all the kit, taking your kit on and off and getting ready and locking the bike up, but parking is better. Pretty much park it anywhere, this thing. Actually the ride tends to get you to your journey in a much better mood as well, especially on a day like this. And what could be better than riding a motorbike on a day like this? Fantastic. So what's it been like these last 6 months riding a bike? Well, I think as I said last time, it's a bit of a revelation really, riding a bike after 30 odd years driving a car. Very, very used, when you're driving a car all the time, you get very, very used to that sort of single-minded car driver's view of the road, and I'm as guilty as that as anybody else. Once you're on a bike, you sort of see the world from a different pair of eyes. The first thing is you're very aware, like I said this last time, you're extremely aware of your own vulnerability on the bike. I'm sat up here, I haven't got anything around me to protect me other than leathers and my helmet. Sat quite high up, exposed to the air, and that's quite a surprise at first. As soon as you start moving the bike along at a bit of speed for the first time, you get on the motorway. I remember riding on the motorway for the first time with Andy a few days after I passed my test, and I was absolutely terrified. Anything above 50 miles an hour, I was clinging on for grim death. And that was pretty much mostly down to the feel and the noise of the wind, the effect that it has on you on the bike. So I made a couple of improvements with my kit. I got some earplugs. I can't say what a difference earplugs made. It was a massive difference. That just drowned out a lot of the wind noise. And I think there must be a psychological effect from the noise of the wind. It seems to feel windier if you can hear it. So earplugs have made a big difference. And I bought some leathers. I went full on midlife crisis and bought a set of leathers. Mostly for my own protection, but actually riding with leathers on the motorway cuts down all that sort of flapping about that you get with the textile jacket. I suppose it makes you a bit more aerodynamic, not that I'm an aerodynamic shape. It cuts down the flapping of the textile. And that reduces the effect of the wind on the motorway as well. And I think the first thing I needed to do really was learn to relax on the bike. As a very new motorcyclist, I tend to hold on for grim death, it knuckles and white. At one point, I've been clinging onto the bike so tightly that I lost the use of my thumbs, which was bikes. Don't ride them very often. Take them out at weekends or on nice days, and that's absolutely fine. You know, that's it's nice to have them as a hobby, but you know, I had a big game of catch up to play. I needed to get the experience up as much as I could. So it's late June now. I started riding the bike early February, and I've done just over 5,000 miles in that short space of time. Quite busy at weekends. I do quite a bit of driving training and stuff at weekends, so most of those miles have been on the commute. So much more comfortable on the commute and on the motorway runs, but every opportunity I've had to go out at weekends as well, I've taken it. How close some people drive to you on the motorways. Limit on it, just a little bit over that limit, right alongside a heavy guns for you. This climbs about a car length off the back of my bike. I'm all for lane discipline on the motorway. Especially in these speed limited areas, it can be really poor kind of lane discipline. People just stick at 50 in a lane and don't complete their overtakes. There's no need to glue yourself to my back wheel. You're on YouTube, fella. BMW drivers, you see. Look at that quality BMW driver. One of the traps you fall into as a motorcyclist is being derogatory towards car drivers. And actually, I think it's a little bit unfair, really. I have to say, since I started riding the bike, I tend to get reasonably good reactions from car drivers. There's a lot of opinions from motorcyclists on forums and YouTube. Car drivers don't look, not careful. What I found is that when they do see you, drivers want to get out of your way. Really to the detriment of your own ability to overtake. Come up behind people and they, especially on single carriageway A and B roads, come up behind somebody travelling a little bit quicker on a bike. There's a lot of drivers that tend to just immediately want to dive out of your way and put an indicator on, even if it's not in an appropriate place. Yeah, what I'd like it to, certainly on A and B roads, is driving with blue lights on. People want to dive out of your way. Don't know what it is. I just don't. I think they feel uncomfortable with motorcyclists behind them. I think there are some motorcyclists who get too close, a bit aggressive, and that intimidates people. If I'm riding along those roads, I try to sort of employ the same techniques, following position, waiting for opportunities, you know, for overtakes that I would do in the car. What else do you notice? I'll never forget the first time a motorcyclist nodded at me, and I felt what part of the club then. You see motorcyclists nodding at each other. If you're a car driver and you've ever wondered why motorcyclists nod at each other, it's because we can't wave our arms in the air and say, "This is fantastic!" It's just a little nod of acknowledgement that we're both enjoying the ride. So now as we get off the motorway, I mean, motorway riding on the bike, you've no massive advantage really over anything else until you get to a congested area where the traffic is backed up, and then the lanes are nice and wide on the motorway. You can split the lanes, make a little bit of progress. But once you get off the motorway and you get into some more urban areas, this is where you've got a real advantage on the bike, filtering. It's another thing I've noticed about other drivers. Nobody really objects to it. You can take a few little liberties on the bike that you wouldn't take on the car. Not risks, just little liberties, nipping through gaps. And people sort of expect it. And if you can filter your way to the front at the traffic lights, unless you're up against a Dacia Logan taxi, which obviously are the fastest things on the road, you're pretty much away ahead of everybody else. Plenty of room here for a nice slow filter through to the front. And as the lights change, I'll just nip through this gap. And as long as you keep your wits about you, checking your mirrors and shoulders all the time, it's a really nice way to ride progressively, get where you're going. And again, I think psychologically it's just the fact that keep moving, even if it's at slow speeds. You just keep the bike moving, filtering to the front, not having to queue in traffic, not sitting there while the lights change from red to green and back to red again, and waiting and waiting. We could just nip through. So the traffic's backing up here, nice and slow on the filter, we can get through. Got to be aware of other people's blind spots, heavy goods vehicles like this. Try and keep it neat and tidy and keep your feet up. Now, I know the phasing on these lights, it's going to be our lights changing in a second. Just get to the front. Just got the lights changing. There's the real advantage of a bike. You're just away, very little effort. Or you'd have to be up against something really rapid with a driver who was really on the ball for them to get away ahead of you at the lights. Obviously like Dacia Logan taxi. Again, a couple of cars up to the lights, like, why do people do this? Why do they not just get to the line and stop? Why do they crawl up to them? Still, leaves me a little bit of room at the front. Now that little lad looks like he doesn't want to go to school, look at him. I want to see the lights change like that. I was very tempted to filter up the middle of those two lanes, then there's plenty of room, but as soon as I see the lights change, I know that vehicles are going to be moving off. People don't tend to check the mirrors, so once that traffic starts moving, I'll drop back into the lane again. They really tend to filter in stationary traffic or traffic that's moving up to about 20 miles an hour. But when it's moving off from lights like that, it's always safer to drop back into the lane and let people set off. So they're not always expecting you to come through on the filter. Now this road's been resurfaced recently. This is much nicer than it used to be. So most of the riding I was doing the early part of the year was in the wet, miserable, cold weather. That didn't actually bother me too much, really, to be honest. Tried to avoid going out when there was any ice on the ground. You might have seen in that first video I put up about motorcycling. It was there was quite a lot of snow still on the ground, but it was starting to warm up and temperatures were well above freezing on that day. As the summer's come on, though, it's been absolutely marvellous, and the grip that's available to you on these bikes is just amazing on modern tyres. You know, you can really lean the bike over on a dry road, especially when it's in nice condition like this one. You get loads of confidence. Is that car pulling out from that junction on the left? No, it's just parked up. So that dry weather grip, it's not just about cornering the bike at high speeds on country roads. It's little junctions like this where we'll be turning right in first gear, but you know, when it's dry, you've just got the confidence to tip it over nicely, get the bike moving rather than pottering around keeping the bike upright. You can just lean it over. Same there. And here's the other advantage, I'm not looking around for a parking space. little bike park here, just chuck it in there and it's all good. And again, this is where riding a bike really has its advantages. Now, I don't tend to filter in traffic that's doing much more than 20-25 miles an hour. I'm very conscious that this focus in front is a long way over to the left of the lane. You have to be careful when you're approaching slower traffic, because it's the traffic at the back of that line that tends to swap lanes. But once you've got the room, you can filter through quite nicely. I tend to keep all my actions nice and smooth. Be very aware when you're alongside heavy goods vehicles like this. And then as the traffic speed picks up again, we're up at about 35-40 miles an hour now, I tend to slot back in a lane. And again, you don't get aggressive reactions from people. They're expecting it. Ambulance coming up in the rear. So always a little ominous sign when you see a police car coming past you with Bluetooth on the motorway, because they're heading to the incident. Means it's probably up in front. And again, on the bike, we can always do a little bit of filtering and get towards the front. This is where we need to be careful. This is where people start swapping lanes at the back of the queue of traffic. Keep an eye on that blue Mercedes in lane 1. Looking well ahead now, I can see that the traffic's quite slow, quite backed up, but I'm going to take a position in between these lanes. You can see one car swapping lanes up ahead there. So you've got to be looking about 3 or 4 cars in front, as well as keeping your observations in the distance. You've got to look about 3 or 4 cars in front and never go up the inside of somebody who's indicating. When you switch the indicator off, it sort of means that they've seen you, and he continued his move behind me then. But if you see anybody flicking indicator on, I always hold back, never filter in between any cars that are indicating. I try and do this non-aggressively, nice and relaxed. Eyes on stalks in the distance. The other thing that I've learnt about filtering is you don't want a big difference in speed between you and the vehicles that you're filtering between. So I never want that speed differential to be anything more than about 20-25 miles an hour maximum, probably about 20 miles an hour normally. That gives you enough time to react if you get any last minute decisions from some of these drivers. Just look for the ones that are in an odd position in the lane, like this black Mercedes A-Class here. He's a long way further over to the left than the other vehicles. Quite often you get a reaction from people when they see you. Notice the Jag's moved over to the left there. It's good. And you don't really filter in a straight line either. It tends to be a little zigzag movement in between the lanes, just to give yourself a little bit more room. Much nicer to filter between vehicles when they're staggered rather than alongside each other. Some squaddies here have been helping with the fire over at Saddleworth today. Yeah, they look like they're having the worst fairground ride in the world sat in the back of that truck, don't they? Quite a dramatic move from the BM there, but making it known that he's seen me. It's a little indicator that they've seen you, giving you a bit of room. Don't always need that extra room, but it's nice for people to make the space for you. Like I say, people don't tend to be aggressive about you filtering on the bike. Sort of seem to be happy with it. So I'm looking right underneath the bridge now. Traffic's still moving very slowly. I'm just taking my time, picking my way through. You know, you could move to lane 1 in this situation, but I tend to find there's more of an expectation that you'll filter between lanes 2 and 3. This Audi's really weaving around in his lane. So you see somebody like that totally not paying attention, messing about with his stereo or his sat nav. Just give him a wide berth. The BM changing lanes there. Careful not to sandwich myself between the BM and the truck. These heavy goods vehicles need a bit more room. So for those of you that endure this trip around the M60 every day, like I've done for the last 9 years, this is a bit better. I keep moving, concentrating hard. It keeps your attention. There's no way you can drift off or become complacent when you're doing this. But this is much nicer than sitting in traffic. I find that my attention is very much on people's wing mirrors. I'm looking for faces and acknowledgement. People have seen me. Very careful not to sit too long in anybody's blind spot. And I try not to sit on the white line as well, because you get this effect from the cat's eyes. The bike machine guns over the cat's eyes and it's quite uncomfortable, so I tend to do most of my filtering off the white line. So the little S-shaped movements in and out of these gaps. Face full of cigarette smoke there. One of the things you notice when you ride a bike is you get the smells now that you don't get in the car. You've got to take the good with the bad. You get to sample everybody's tasting vape flavours, cigarette smoke. You realise how many people are smoking cannabis now and driving at the same time. It smells like a mile off. Drive through towns at night or past pubs, you can smell the food cooking. This time of year you can smell barbecues when you're driving past people's houses. For anybody knows, there's a junction off to the left here. See over the top of these cars, and then again another benefit of riding on the bike is you're a little bit higher up, you get the view on the top of these cars. You can see right hand indicators, vehicles joining lane 3, lane 4 as it is, ready for them to swoop out in front of you. Again, once the traffic's moving again, we're back out into a lane rather than keep filtering. Which brings us on to the next chapter of motorcycling. Like I said, I'll do my advanced bike test in a couple of weeks. I'll share that with you. But the reason I've filmed this today, apart from the glorious weather, I mean, this is a fantastic day to ride a bike, isn't it? But setting the weather aside, the reason I've made this little video today is that I'm going to be trading the Fazer in tomorrow. I'm going to get a new bike, brand new bike actually. I'll not tell you what it is, I'll keep that as a surprise. But within the next few days I'll do another video, posting it online. We're collecting the new bike. I'll show you what I've got. I'm getting a new bike tomorrow. The last time I got a new bike it was a BMX, I think I was 12. And I actually feel like a 12-year-old at the moment, waiting for his BMX. I don't think I'm going to get much sleep tonight, I'm really excited. More excited actually than I've been the last few times I've got a new car, so really looking forward to this. The fuel gauge is a little low, better go and put. All set. Gotta go and put a fiver's worth in before I trade it in tomorrow. Anyway, I'm Reg Local, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and have a look at the website reglocal.com. More information about advanced and performance driving. Maybe I'll put some stuff on there about riding soon as well. Until next time, thanks for watching.